Joining us now, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. First of all, Jim, let me thank you, because I read about it every day. I still like a hard newspaper. I was a paper boy as a kid, and I like to get a hard copy, and I still read through it. And of course, you know, I get a big pile every day of stuff I read. But, you know, every day I'm reading about this. You know, there was a bank robber that robbed 5 banks, got out each time on no bail, robbed another bank. He had to be the worst bank robber in the history of bank robbing. But they let him out every time. So I'm glad that you're allowing the victims to tell their story.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Sean. Alvin Bragg, as you said New York's the safest big city in the country. Your audience knows that isn't the case. You know, you live there. You know that's not the case.
No, I don't live in this. I don't live in this Adam Schiff hole. I don't. I live in the outer boroughs, far away. Yeah.
And even the facts and figures and stats about Alvin Bragg's DA's office reveal that that's not the case. So we're coming up there to talk to the victims, the people who've been impacted by this crazy left-wing ideology that says we're not going to put bad guys, people who do harmful things to other Americans, we're not going to put them in jail and then bad things happen. We're going to talk to those families. And we're not just going to go to New York. We're going to go to other cities. I've talked to our subcommittee, crime subcommittee chairman, Congressman Biggs. He'll be there with us. He wants to go to other cities and do this same thing. But it is that critical because Alvin Bragg, as you know, is going after President Trump when you have all kinds of things happening in his town that are harmful to families who live there.
Let me ask you, your investigation, your committee is looking into whether or not our FBI has been politicized and our Department of Justice has been weaponized. You have many whistleblowers in the FBI coming forward. I've interviewed a couple myself, and I understand that there are many more coming. Are you, at this early date, based on what you have heard from whistleblowers that I have not heard, and maybe this audience has not heard, are you convinced the FBI is politicized and the DOJ is weaponized?
I am, Sean. It's a brave whistleblower who brought us, came forward and told us about what was going on in the Richmond field office. They were looking, the FBI in the Richmond field office was looking to put sources in churches, have informants in Catholic parishes. That's what they were looking to do. Someone needs to give them a lesson in the First Amendment. This memorandum that they put together that we now have, this memorandum talks about doing just that, and it was signed off on by 2 senior analysts and the chief division counsel there. How can a lawyer sign off on something like that? And frankly, but for the whistleblower, I don't know that this wouldn't still be going on. And this thing was sent out to all the other field offices. Now, stop and think for a second. Yesterday was probably more Americans in church than any other day of the year, the day we celebrate the resurrection of our Savior. Millions of Americans going to church. Now, what if this FBI thing would have been carried out? There would be people in the church spying on fellow parishioners, fellow churchgoers. That's what they were looking to do. That's how scary this is, what they've done to the First Amendment. And when you put it in context, remember, the FTC a few weeks ago, we learned, was asking a private company, who are the journalists you're talking to? Name 4 personally. 2 of those journalists testified. When one of them's testifying, while Democrats are asking him who his sources are, the FBI is knocking on his door. And now we learn that here in the last month, now we learn that the FBI was looking to put informants and develop sources in churches where you go to talk to your pastor, to your priest, looking to do that. That is frightening stuff, and that's why the work we're doing in this committee, I think, is so darn important.
Let me ask you, based on what we have been witnessing and what you have seen, and this spectacle that was unfolding last week with President Trump, do you believe that the Clintons and the Bidens have been treated differently than Donald Trump?
Well, of course they have, Sean. I mean, look, I said they spied on his campaign, they raided his home, and now they indict him. And they indict him even though Alvin Bragg wasn't going to bring the case, but saw that President Trump announced he's running for president, is leading in all the polls, and so they go after him. And I'm actually very, very concerned that they're going to go after him in Georgia, and I'm also concerned that the special counsel is going to come forward with an indictment, too. And if the special counsel does that, think about this, Sean. If he does that on the classified documents issue, and they don't do anything to Joe Biden, who's had classified documents at his home, at his beach house in Chinatown, at the Biden Center, he's had them all over the place. If they don't go after President Biden and do something to President Trump, that is frightening stuff. And I'm afraid that maybe where things are going, I certainly hope that's not the case. But yeah, this is the double standard that we've seen way too much in this country. You certainly hope it's not the case,
but in reality, you believe it probably is, because I know I do.
I hope not, because as Kim Strassel had in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago, when you cross this Rubicon, you start having these kind of indictments done for purely political reasons. Even Andy McCabe said he wasn't too impressed with Alvin Bragg's rollout of this indictment last week. When you have Andy McCabe saying things like that, you know how political this whole thing is and going after President Trump.
Congressman Jordan, great to have you. Thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.